You're listening to Evergreen Media Network. I am Cindy Schwartz, and this is the Patient Partner Show. My co-host Jeannie Roller is with me. She's in Indiana. I am in Florida. We're talking about hospital topics. That's what this podcast is about. Jeannie Roller and I got flung into it, if you will, in my words, Jeannie, through no accord of our own that we trusted, and whatever we always wanted to do with the medical system, with the hospitals and the facilities and the doctors and the nurses and all of that, in serious situations when we found that it was not what we thought the care was going to be. In fact, it was, I don't want to say it, about face 180 degrees behind, and we wound up with PTSD and all this other stuff, and wound up with really not very good care and scrambling for our lives, actually, me trying to get my brain back from all the drugs they used on me that I didn't really need to have, and, you with your husband and the whole bit. So that's kind of a little bit of a background. And so now we delve into these topics, and we talk with different patients that this has happened to as well. And it's not even nationwide, it's worldwide. We have done that as well with people in other countries. It's just a sad situation. Today you want to talk about, Jeannie, your topic is rural hospitals going by the wayside because of big box hospitals. How does that go?
Well, the federal government is offering money for small hospitals to provide only ER services and or outpatient services. Now, I know about this because the community in which I live the hospital is one of these hospitals. It was bought by one of the big box chain hospitals, and now it only serves as an ER or outpatient, which means that if you need inpatient stay, you will have to be transferred to one of their other locations or to another hospital system. So if you go in through the ER to these hospitals, you need to keep in mind that there's going to be additional cost of an ambulance or a helicopter, and around here they use helicopters.
Mm-hmm. So some transport, yeah.
So more transport. But the thing is that the rural communities, many of them are being left without services because maternity services are not offered at these hospitals. So you have to go further and further to have your baby, sometimes even to see a doctor.
Yeah.
Because
yes.
The doctors will come around like once a week, if that often, from the different, other hospital systems. They'll hold office hours maybe for an afternoon once a week. So for people out in the rural districts, there is an issue about getting medical care that they need because it's simply not there, or it's too far away. And in my opinion, as more hospitals are going by the wayside and becoming part of a larger hospital system, that increases the costs rather than what you would expect, lowering the cost. That it seems like the cost is increasing. And, going around where I live within 100 miles, you can see closed, shuttered hospitals. And it's so sad. And a lot of them are being basically ran out of business because a lot of people seem to believe that they get better care if they go to a larger hospital system rather than at the local hospital, and which that may or may not be true. A larger hospital, yes, probably has newer technology, but in my opinion, sometimes the smaller hospitals give better, so to speak, customer service because they rely on word of mouth to keep them in business, and word of mouth would spread quicker if people were being mistreated or abused or whatever in a smaller hospital system.
Well, there's more accountability than what you're saying. The other ones, you get you get lost in the shuffle. I don't want to say you get lost in the shuffle when you go to some of these, big box facilities or whatever. You just do. You just do. And it's, it sounds like you're taking steps backwards for your health care instead of steps forwards in a lot of situations with these things. Why being forced, quote unquote, to go to this big facility when what's wrong with having your doctor so-and-so as, that one that locally? I mean, what's wrong with all of this? I mean, I get it's a money deal and it has to be, otherwise there's not going to be any care. I mean, I get the basis for that, but I mean, is it that paramount thing that has to happen, making the money?
Right. Right. And Cindy, it's not only that it's farther to go for medical care, but if you're a patient and you have a serious health issue that requires you to be in the hospital, imagine the financial burden that would put on your family trying to come to visit or to stay.
Right.
Because,
Right.
I say that every patient should have someone with them full time while they're in the hospital as their advocate, that no patient should ever be alone in a hospital. And just imagine the burden, the financial burden, trying to do that, stay with that family member and these distances. It is just, mind blowing. I know that here locally, I've heard people talk about having to go 50 miles or more for a hospital. So that is quite the distance. And if and I know, when you're pregnant, you go into labor, that's quite a little distance.
Well, it used to be in my day, I think yours too, Jeannie, you only could be a certain amount of distance away from your doctor. I mean, you had to get there because, people's lives are hanging in the balance here. You don't know when that baby's going to come or what care you're going to get. I mean, sure, you can't predict every situation, but I remember that, you have to be within 15 miles of where your doctor and the hospital is. And I know we've done podcasts on this, and I know because of personal instances in the last year or so of people that I know that have had babies, the care is just horrendous. I was talking with a nurse midwife the other day, and she's like, "Yeah, it's just crazy what these moms are going through in a lot of places because they just can't get the care." We did a podcast on my one of my relatives that at 5 months pregnant, no one would care for her because she was coming into the system, quote unquote, at 5 months pregnant, when in fact it was because her husband's job moved them 5 hours away from where her doctor care was. She couldn't stay at the doctor care and no one would take her, and she wound up going to the ER for her care for the last 4 months. And that's a reality. Right. I mean, knock wood that it worked out okay, but there again is your continuity of care of people that that you're established with. So where is all this stuff coming from? I mean, in the factor of things, or is it that the general people, my opinion, don't matter any longer? Is that what this is about? I mean, what's your date of birth? What's your insurance card? How many times have we heard that? Here's your patient rights paper to sign. Here's your informed consent to sign. And by the way, at the end of the day, when the ink dries, we really get to do what we want, my opinion.
Right. And, for people like us who we went to the hospital that only offered ER services and, because what happened there, we will no longer go back there for ER services. We'll take our chances and drive ourselves to the hospital system that we want to go to, which, creates new dangers for us because we'll be without medical care even longer. Right. So, I think a lot of people are like that because the ambulances, it takes longer. They may not be in service. Helicopters, they're supposed to be fast. Sometimes it takes a long time for those helicopters to come, especially out to rural areas. So I just think that, in my opinion, that communities shouldn't lose their hospitals. They need those hospitals. They may not be the fancy hospital, but at least they're giving care to their community.
Yeah, and some of the big box ones, we've had this issue here, and it was specifically for mental health, if you will, that they'll have satellite offices, those kind of things, but then those dry up and go away too after a while because, again, it's the money aspect, if you will, for all of that. You know what I mean? So
and that's what's happened.
Yeah.
That's what's happened around here. The satellite offices have been slowly closing.
Yep. Anyway, on that note, Jeannie, I'm going to say another good topic. We just keep talking about it because there's got to be something done. We have to be on the same page. We have to, talk what we want to talk about and try to figure some of this out and try to keep everybody having as best health care as they possibly can. Stay listening to Evergreen Media Network.